Hey, welcome to the process. My name is Dr. John Bush. This is a continuation of the visuals of ADP versus the expected points per game 2020-2023, part 2. I have done deeper data analysis back, I think, to 2013, maybe previous. I just wanted to condense it, and kind of at this point, I'm doing something a little bit different in this visualization. So this is, again, we're just kind of top down. We're looking at the top of the landscape and going down. And that's how I approach it. My personal opinion is that's how it should be approached. Understanding a system, you deconstruct it. Bottom up would mean you construct it. And I think by going down, you get a better feel for the complexity of the system. It's like breaking down a car engine or something versus starting with mysterious parts and how do they all fit, right? Versus you breaking it down, it's already fit. You're just trying to figure out where everything goes, okay? And what's out there in mainstream fantasy analysis, don't even think I don't think they go top down or bottom up. They just I don't know what it is. Frankly, I know it's not going to be a shock to the few of you listening. Thank you for listening. I don't spend a lot of time out there. Twitter amuses me because there's a lot of funny stuff said, and it is humorous. And Dennis and I do on our podcast have to come up with some yucks and some concepts and things to gripe about, but I really don't have time to flitter about and hear everybody's secret stuff, sleepers and, whatever. It's just noise to me. No offense to anybody out there, but I ain't got time for that stuff. Really don't. I'm too busy still trying to do my analysis. It's July 12th. It's going to be sacrilege. I need about 2-3 more months of pre-season here. Things in my head. I'm thinking, how can I use AI in a way to help me predict things? I've been doing some studying on that, thinking about that. I do not have time to reinvent myself and learn coding and AI. I just want to be able to learn to use the tools, and I'm trying to figure out the cheapest way, if like not free way, to do that. So that's something I'm going to be working. I believe that's where we're going. I don't know if people would admit it, but I think that's where we're going on this stuff. Not that I say that's where we should be going. Okay, I didn't say that. It's like I think that's where we will. And then the headlines will say AI predicts, and you'll be like, ooh, well, that must mean it's great. I don't even know if they'll fact check or beta test any of it. Probably not. I don't know. Okay. Let's do this first. Okay. So running back versus wide receivers, ADP 1 to 12, 20 to 23, end of the season. This is the distribution of what has happened. This is RB in red, and blue is WR. Okay, so things to take away. The ceiling is higher. 5 points, 6 points a week, 5 points, 5.5 for running backs. That has led to people grabbing RBs in the first round. Okay, that's just kind of the payoff is higher. But the safety net, the ceiling and floor range is much better with running backs. If you look at the box here, 22 to 17. So roughly 50% of the population is right there, whereas running backs, about 22, but look at the bottom, 14. So notice it's wider, and the average there is much lower. So the risk of grabbing an RB and getting something sucky is much higher. So the safe factor has been WR. Historically, I believe in the previous lessons, WRs are safer. Notice this is not me saying you should take WRs in the first round or not. Draft pick, etc., influences your diary. How good are you at picking those upshot upshot RBs? Okay, if you're damn good, then this data is not for you. Okay, this you know, at the end of the day, you got to go with what works for you. And that's something that gets lost. These people, well, here's what's over here. This is what. It's nice to read about what's worked for people. Coming from a horse racing background, there's a lot of redboarding that goes on. That's the term, means after the fact. If you would have done this, you would have won. Okay, and tip sheets. You go to the track. They have, here's the board. Yesterday we had 40 winners, whatever it is. It's something ridiculous. You know, this is all after the fact. You know, if I give you 5 selections per race, you know, I have a good shot at getting a winner, kind of thing. Doesn't mean you'll make a profit. So redboarding goes on in fantasy football all the time. And people don't even realize it. Maybe they don't care. If I'm not, well, let me see if I can't slap dab my way and win this big money league. Folks, there ain't no slap dab shortcut to any of this business. Okay, this is working as much as you can, hours a day if you can, to enhance your skills. Okay, by getting better, you have a better chance, right? You know, anything can happen in any game, in any play. Okay, lots of variation to deal with. And remember, all these stats are built on limited observations. Okay, that's why, and I just don't like baseball, but more baseball games means more data points. So I suspect the stat people do better at fantasy baseball. I don't know that. I've never played it, probably not going to. But football, limited data points. Anyway, this is the box and whisker distribution of the last 4 years, first round, RBs, WRs. It's telling a story. You need to figure out which matches with your expertise. But if you are wanting to play it safe, okay, versus risk, I do say if you'll look at my previous, there was a cutoff between the top half of round 1 and the bottom half. Okay, top half, you tend to get those higher upshot RBs. Bottom half, not so much. So, depending on your draft pick, you may default to WRs. Okay, a lot of times that's what I think that I do. If I can get CMC, I'm definitely taking him and pick one. But if I've got pick 2 or 3, I give it some consideration. I've tended to go with WRs, but I do. Brees Hall is of interest. I do think about it, wondering the upshot of that. Anyway, another way to look at this data is to actually look at the data itself. It's the data for round one, and you can see the floor to ceiling I've sorted, and I broke it down by sectors because I wanted to convert to percentages to get a feel of the distribution, and I think that tells us a story as well. And you can look at the numbers here, but if you look at the numbers there, above 24 fantasy points per game, 4 RBs, 1 WR. There you go. There's the payoff for the RB right there. If you could pick that, you're in business. Notice 20, above 19 and above to 22, above to 24, somewhere in that range. It is 6, 7 versus 10. Okay, WRs get an advantage here. Notice that the back end, there's only 4 versus 19, folks. There is the trick. There is the downside. There is the injury risk right there. I just can't show it more. Here it is. So when people, make these proclamations, come on, folks, show what's behind the curtain. Here's behind the curtain. They're going to want to point you up here. I'm a pessimist. I'd be looking down here and be like, rut-row versus here. 4 versus basically 20. Ooh. So percentage-wise, there's the advantage if you look at the total population. So what I did is I added these numbers, 30 total, and each one of these sectors, what percentage of that sector. 43% of the RBs in round one are down here. 11 to 16. Boy, that sucks. That's a lot of draft capital. WRs, 7%, folks. You see the safety right there. I just can't, the numbers just slap you in the head. You need to decide, do you want the safety? It's like investing in the stock market. If you go to a funds manager, they're going to try to figure out, do you like to roll the dice a little bit, or you like safety? Well, here you go. I'm just as your fantasy football fund manager, what you want to do? You feeling lucky, punk? Right? The Clint Eastwood said. I would answer him sometimes. Depends. Depends on what my diary says in this situation. But anyway, there's the trick right there. That is just as bold as it can be. So any discussion you read out there on Twitter should start with this foundation. And then people say, well, I've been damn lucky. Last 4 years, I'm up here. I'm not down here. Okay? I mean, I don't know if they documented that. Probably not. Fantasy Receipts, always watching. Okay, so let's continue on. Second round, I did include the data points for QB in blue here and tight end. Okay, so right away, QBs are more valuable than any if you just looked at fantasy points per game. Okay, and it's just something you need to be aware of. Tight ends, second round, the best tight end is as good as the best WR. Notice the RBs, not as good. So some people, you know, when you look at elite tight ends, there's some advantage. But look at the floor and the ceiling. Okay, a little bit steeper here. RB's a little bit safer, actually, believe it or not, second round. Okay, you know your upside is limited, but your downside is better than tight ends. WRs are fairly constant here, and I do like that. So what is the distribution of points? You can look at the data, but bottom line is notice how different it is. Look at what's not here the last 4 years. So if people are trying to tell you that they're just tearing it up, folks, you can't tear it up if it doesn't exist. Okay? You can't tear it up. It exists here. It doesn't exist here. Notice the WRs, 20% of the show, there's no RBs here. Okay? So right away you got that much advantage. But right here, WRs, 28%, RBs right here. So that's right here is why people can get away with WR first round, RB second round, right here. If you can avoid this sector, you're in business. If you can avoid it, then you're in business. So you need to decide and look at your diary here. But some people say, well, if you're good, it's best to pick WR first two. Okay. What happens is, and we'll see in the third round, hey, French Bulldog, be good. You're not going to get another bite of the apple of the RBs at the high levels. It's going to be even rarer. Okay, first two rounds are your best to grab a solid RB. I've tended to do WRRB, depending on the draft pick, but if you go the other way, hard to follow, especially if your diary says you can win your league that way. Third round, WR's a little bit better. Notice we are narrowing the window here. Notice the distribution. The box is bigger, much thinner. RBs still have that downside range versus WRs. With an exception, there's a data point out here. So what does that look like distribution wise? Notice 16 WRs are killing it here. So if you look in the first two rounds, depending on how you play it, if you grab a WR, if you can grab one of these RBs and another WR, you're getting as good as you can get here, I think, at this point. Because if you wait till the third round to grab an RB, this is the 0 RB, look what you're getting, 11 fantasy points. So the 0 RB truthers, what they're saying is they're able to pick the few situations that are going to come up because of injury, and that will overcome any kind of situation that they're going to have to deal with. So they're hoping to maximize their WRs early, and your QB tight end. So they're thinking by about the fifth round they're ready to take an RB. So they're going to take hits on the RBs because the ones you picked in the first round, they're hoping are going to get injured. So really, zero RB is a gamble that their competitors' early RBs will turn out bad, and theirs later ones will do much better than your third and fourth RBs that will come up. In other words, you've lost your main dogs, and they haven't. So that and their WRs are superior to yours because you picked some RBs instead of WRs in the safer realm. Okay. And you're saying, well, does that work? It depends, right? You can't, if you can predict injury, then you'd know what to do. But anyway, this third round, and it's getting really interesting that everybody's hanging out in this range here, right here. 8 to 11. 11 to 16, right in here, right? Here we go. WR's 12 up to right here. So that's the show. WR's, here's 11 up to 16. Look, it's almost everybody. Only one above 16. Okay? We got 6 above 16 here. So there's the payoff in the third round. If you can grab one of these, you're going to beat these fantasy points per game. Fourth round, WRs, still get your safer versus RBs. Okay, I can't make it what it isn't, folks. It's like a minefield out here, and the downside is much greater for RBs. Distribution-wise, notice that 50-59 is at the 11 sector up here. It was 80 to 60. Notice now we're concentrated right here, third round, fourth round. That is different for the second round. Okay. I mean, we're pretty high, but there's a lot more life in the 16 sector. And in the first round, 16th sector and above, there's life out here. So if anybody tries to tell you that third, fourth round, it's the same, it's not, folks, things are changing. These point distribution, these sector distributions in the points is not the same. Notice now we've introduced 8 as a sector. That shows up in the fourth round to catch some of these, and notice that's mainly RBs. Okay, so sadness is upon us here. Okay, so the 8 to 11 folks, in this case is 4, only 2 here. So double the show. Okay, 4 versus 2. Okay, so you got double the chance of getting really sucky players right here. I mean, you could approach this data and look at just the sub factor and figure out your worst case scenarios. And by the way, I haven't done the coding for the RBs and tight ends. I'm running out of time. I'm moving on. But you could take my hard data and you could generate this for yourself. And I'm sure there's interesting things to be had if you did that. Let's see, what else am I going to do here? Oh, I know what I was going to do. Let me move this up a little bit. Come on, John. I think I'm going to shut this down. I'm tired of running my mouth. No, you're tired of me running my mouth. Okay, get rid of that. Come on, John. Get rid of that. Okay. So this is this the fourth round here? Yeah. This is a visual of looking at everything I've talked about in the first 4 rounds right here. I love this. To me, in a snapshot, I can see the first 4 rounds. And again, you could do this for the QB and tight end as well. I mean, I think if you can juggle that complexity, that's a great way to do it. So here it is. Notice the stretching here of the area down here to 11. Of course, here's the RBs. But you have an opportunity to reach beyond WRs. Okay, that opportunity's gone by. The second round is starting to disappear. You still have a chance in here to beat it, but there are some WRs that are going to deliver, and there's no RBs there to fight them. So there is that advantage there. Here's the third round. Notice there's a lot of the same there. A little bit there with, notice the downsides really creeping in at that point. Okay. So again, WRs are winning the day on the upper sectors on this. So you just need to sit here and stare at this, think about it, see what you think. I don't know why. Oh, I guess I had to go to the 70 there because it was so high. Okay. I like to keep the scales the same, and I just realized I didn't. Okay. What else? I think it's just a lot of for you to stare at the data a little bit. Okay, just pop you a top and think about what this means. And if you got your diary, are you good at, RBs in the first, second, third, fourth? How's that worked out for you last 4 or 5 years? Okay, how's that done for you? How does that fit with what reality is? Okay, this figure should be on every site's radar. First thing they'll say, well, let me tell you what you got to fight. Okay, here's the good news. Here's the bad news. Wake up, folks. Here it is. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what you're paying out there for some of those sites, but come on. Really? I'm trying to at least cut through some of it and show you what's there. Okay. This is what you've got to deal with. Okay. And remember, this is not in concrete at all. This is just based on 4 years of data. We have limited data points. So even this is squishier. I mean, when you look at these bar graphs, it seems solid and takeaway, but realize it's ethereal, right? It's mist. But you're saying, what else do you, well, it's what you got. Okay, so just realize it is what it is, and you just need to have to deal with it in fantasy football. Okay, that's enough of me talking part 2 here. Come back. It's Dr. Bush for the process, for the science of fantasy football. I'm going to be doing a podcast today. We'll get that out. I don't know if I'm going to take Dennis through this or not. I don't think, not sure he's even seen this yet. I don't know if I sent it to him. Okay, more later. Come back. We'll have, what are we doing? Oh, we're going to the next rounds. Okay, the next 4 blocks here. Okay, same thing we did. And we'll have this to look at those rounds. Okay, we're coming. We're having fun. Come back.